My name is Alexandra, and I'm endlessly thankful that no need is too great or too small to bring before God. He has answered my prayers in ways that seem like a miracle to me. Throughout my life, I've spent a lot of time worrying and experiencing anxiety in social situations, but I could generally push through. If there was something I wanted to do, I just kind of pushed through any issues of fear, and I did what I wanted anyway, and it always worked out. I was a huge baseball fan. I went to at least 100 games every year, and I basically lived at Wrigley Field, but I also went to a lot of White Sox and Brewers games because they were so close. I used to drive around the country visiting other fields or visiting friends and family. I also worked 2 jobs, and I had long commutes to work, and I never had any issues with it. With my jobs, I had to interview people a lot, and I just dove right in. I went to concerts, comedy shows. In the course of about 4 decades of life, I'd only had a couple true anxiety attacks, and they'd been in my teen years, so I kind of thought the worst of my anxiety was behind me. My anxiety was mostly just in social situations or crowded places, and I always overcame it fairly easily. It was there, but it was kind of like a background noise that I could just tune out. Then in 2019, it was like someone turned off all the lights. And my anxiety started to get completely out of control. I would get panic attacks for no reason. The first time it happened, I was driving home from work, and I felt like my fingertips and my lips were going numb. And then my heart started beating to the point where it felt like it was exploding out of my chest. And I was kind of losing my vision. Everything was turning white around the edges. I was sure I was dying, but it turned out it was actually an anxiety attack. These would begin happening anytime I got behind the wheel, whether I was driving my long commute to work or trying to drive 5 minutes to the grocery store. And then it happened anytime I was sitting in a room. I would start to think I was trapped, there was no way out, and I was going to suffocate. Nothing I did helped. I started going to counseling, and it made me more anxious. In 2020, when the pandemic made it so everyone had to stay home, it was a huge relief for me because the pressure was off. But that only lasted so long. I was working 2 jobs that were considered essential, but I was unable to drive to either of them. I would try, and I'd have to turn around and come home. I was in danger of losing my jobs. I had to have my groceries delivered. I wasn't able to go to church. My world became very, very small, and I felt there was nothing I could do about it. But in my helplessness, in my absolute hopelessness, God began to work in me. A Christian counselor I was seeing suggested I read a psalm each day before I drove to work. It wasn't an instant cure, but it got me there. I started to be a lot more open about my anxiety, and I realized I wasn't alone. I would feel an anxiety attack coming on, and I would text someone and ask them to pray for me, and usually the panic would subside. I started to experience victories here and there, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt hope. After about a year of consistent counseling and lots of prayer, I went to my first baseball game again, and I had 0 problems. I honestly never thought I'd be able to have anything close to resembling a normal life. But God gave me everything back I lost and then some, kind of like what He did for Job. I feel like my life is more full and more rich than ever before. God healed my anxiety in a way I can't explain. It wasn't immediate, but He healed me in His perfect timing and beyond anything I could dream of. He worked a miracle in my life, and I know He can work a miracle in your life too. Whatever you're dealing with, anxiety, depression, grief, hopelessness, God's listening to your prayers and He loves you. You're not walking that path alone. Wait on the Lord, and I know He'll answer you. That's just hard to even listen to because it kind of takes me back to a time in my life that I thought I would never get over. But I'm sharing that story with you to show you a couple things. One, just God's amazing healing power. But also beyond that, we want to help. We want to help as a church. Next week, Brian is going to start a series on community. And community is a very healing thing. And so we're going to start these support groups for mental health on once a month after the service. Our first one will be February 8th, the second Sunday of the month. And we're going to meet after church for just some time to be together and to talk things through. Eventually, we'll start meeting more regularly. We'll be offering probably an ability to even have one-on-one counseling. I have a background, a master's degree in counseling psychology, and have worked with a lot of people that are dealing with trauma, loss, depression, anxiety. So we want to do that for you as a group. So we hope that if you have anything you want to just kind of maybe sit and talk through, come meet with us with our group February 8th. It's going to be a really great time, and I know that you'll experience the same healing that God brought into my life.